Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily Grinstead and I'm so glad that you're here. Y'all are in for a treat today. Let me tell you, we're gonna get real cozy and talk about my biggest dating fails. There have been many of them, and honestly, I'm just gonna full on expose myself in this video because I think these stories are funny. I also love hearing about other people's dating experiences and mistakes that they've made. It just makes for a good story, you know? So, welcome to my bedroom. I am in my very cheap Amazon fake silk pajamas. They're great, super cozy. I have my Disney Cinderella mug. Sadly, it's empty because I already drank my coffee, but we're just gonna pretend. It's gonna be great. All right, so on Instagram, if you're not following me, I will put the handle somewhere here. I asked you guys what video you wanted to see next, and overwhelming majority was interested in hearing about my dating fail stories. So that is what you are getting today. A little background for you if you don't know me personally, even though I have shared a little bit about my dating history on Instagram, because my whole thing with sharing about dating online is I think it's really helpful to learn from other people's mistakes. I have made many, and so when I share about past relationships and guys I've dated, it's never to call them out or to, badmouth them or anything. I would never use names or give away, personal details. Respect the guys I've dated, have no hard feelings towards them. They're all great people. But I've made a lot of mistakes in those relationships. They've made mistakes too, and I think there's something to learn from sharing, at least some details about that. So what you'll get today is my biggest fails in past dating relationships, early dating, first dates, all of that. So to kind of give you some background, I have been in 3 relationships, like 3 serious dating relationships over the past 3 or 4 years, and have, had little flings and early dating and gone on lots of first dates kind of in between all of those relationships. So I'm not like, the most experienced, but I also do have some, dating experience under my belt. So I was making a list of just biggest dating failures, and I have some good stories. My close friends know these stories and they're like pretty embarrassing. So grab your coffee with me, your wine, whatever you want when you're watching this, and strap yourselves in. So I think it's easiest for me to go in chronological order with sharing these fail stories, just because I'll get mixed up otherwise. So about 2 years ago, I went through a really a little background for you if you don't know me personally, even though I have shared a little bit about my dating history on Instagram, because my whole thing with sharing about dating online is I think it's really helpful to learn from other people's mistakes. I have made many, and so when I share about past relationships and guys I've dated, it's never to call them out or to, badmouth them or anything. I would never use names or give away, personal details. Respect the guys I've dated, have no hard feelings towards them. They're all great people. But I've made a lot of mistakes in those relationships. They've made mistakes too, and I think there's something to learn from sharing, at least some details about that. So what you'll get today is my biggest fails in past dating relationships, early dating, first dates, all of that. So to kind of give you some background, I have been in 3 relationships, like 3 serious dating relationships over the past 3 or 4 years, and have, had little flings and early dating and gone on lots of first dates kind of in between all of those relationships. So I'm not like, the most experienced, but I also do have some, dating experience under my belt. So I was making a list of just biggest dating failures, and I have some good stories. My close friends know these stories and they're like pretty embarrassing. So grab your coffee with me, your wine, whatever you want when you're watching this, and strap yourselves in. So I think it's easiest for me to go in chronological order with sharing these fail stories, just because I'll get mixed up otherwise. So about 2 years ago, I went through a really difficult breakup. It was right before I graduated college. I thought I was gonna marry this guy. It ended up being this just really dramatic breakup. So in the immediate aftermath of that breakup, being the kind of person I am, I was, finishing classes and getting ready to graduate and was just not like processing the breakup well, to where that first week after we officially broke up, I was just like, I'm good, I'm doing great, I feel fantastic, like no one can get me, I'm just doing fantastic. This breakup hasn't bothered me, you know, whatever. That's not normal. If you go through a very difficult breakup, you're gonna feel things. But that first week, I was just kind of in denial that it had happened, and I was like pushing everything under the rug. So, a little backstory. A couple months before that, or really like a year before, I had decided that I really wanted to get a dog. If my mom's watching this, she's already like crying. I really wanted to get a golden doodle puppy that summer. I know it's the cliche, like, you know, white millennial person's dog, but they're so cute and they're just, oh, such a sweet like family dog. Even though I'm single, but it doesn't matter. And I had been slowly saving up to buy a puppy that summer. And, you know, lo and behold, the breeder I was in contact with that semester happens to reach out to me around the week of that breakup that spring a couple years ago and was like, actually, Emily, our litter is ready. Because I had been planning to get a puppy that like a couple months into that summer, right before I moved out to North Carolina. And I was like, what great timing. It's a sign from the Lord that I need to get a puppy right now after I just had my heart broken. This is a great idea. No, not a good idea. But in the moment, I was like, this is perfect. I'm gonna go get this dog. It's gonna help me get over this guy. Life is just wonderful. And so, my sweet friends, you know who you are. God bless you. I don't know what I was thinking and you stood with me, so thank you. One of my good friends in college, I convinced her to come drive out with me to come get this dog. We drove several hours up into the mountains near Chattanooga and we go pick up this puppy. And I was just like on cloud nine, super excited, you know, like doing my single girl thing. I'm getting a dog, life is great. We go get this dog, super cute, great breeder, all the things. Get back to Nashville. I live alone, just so you know, in an apartment. And this is a little dog, a little boy dog. And it is a hot mess. If you've taken care of a puppy on your own before, you know it's like caring for a newborn. And it is difficult on your own, especially without a yard, and especially right after you've gone through like a traumatic breakup. And those 3 days with that dog were awful. This sweet little puppy was humping everything in the apartment and myself, and it was just not what I needed. It was very alarming, and like that's what dogs do, it's normal. But when you're by yourself, you're stressed, you're sleep deprived, you're anxious, you're processing all these emotions from a breakup, and you have this little animal that you're suddenly taking care of that's like humping everything and peeing everywhere and super just like crazy. Not a good situation at all. And of course, it happens to be like a week into the post-breakup season and all the emotions of the breakup hit me. Well, I suddenly am caring for a puppy. Great time, right? I lasted 3 days with this dog. 3 days. And it was a very hard 3 days. I ended up rehoming the dog. The sweet breeder, I was in contact with her. I had a lot of friends who were helping me out, who were giving me advice about the dog and trying to support me and would come in shifts to help me with this puppy. And you know what, it ended up that I contacted the breeder and was like, hey, can I bring the puppy back and help find a new home for it? I am so sorry. Ended up getting a full refund. They were just so great to me and so kind, but oh man, that was bad. And something I didn't mention was that my parents didn't know I was getting a puppy. And so when I brought this dog home back to Nashville, I FaceTimed them because I thought it would be really funny and really great to be like, hi mom and dad, I have a dog now. They were horrified. They were like, what are you thinking? You just got broken up with. You're about to graduate. You live on your own. You don't have a yard. You're not in a good mental, emotional state. And I was like, this is great. I have a dog. Woohoo. I'm gonna like solve all my problems with this puppy. No. So hi mom and dad, you were right. It was a mistake, but I learned a lot. Yeah. So that is the dog story of when I got a puppy right after a breakup and rehomed it 3 days later. Number 2, so a couple months after that breakup, I decide, as anyone who thinks they're sort of over someone and ready to date again, way too early. You get on a dating app. So I got on dating apps this summer after I graduated, just a couple months after that breakup, thinking that I was ready to date, and start meeting other people, get my mind off of my ex-boyfriend. Looking back, it was a little too soon, but oh well. So I get on dating apps for the first time. I think I was on like Hinge and Bumble. And I was like, you know what, we're gonna go meet other people, go on some first dates, just meet other guys, show ourselves that there are other people out there, right? This is what I'm kind of ashamed of, just because I lied to someone. And so I don't, recommend doing this, but I think it is a funny story, and it also just goes to show that like I'm not perfect. Lying is not okay, but yeah, it makes kind of for a funny story. So here we go. So I matched with someone on Hinge, and I don't want to give details. I mean, I haven't spoken to this person in 2 years, so I don't think they would see this video, but I matched with this guy on Hinge. We started talking for a bit. He asked me out to go like listen to live music somewhere in Nashville. And I was like super nervous because I had just been in a relationship. This was, my first date after a breakup, and so it's a big deal. And I go on this date with this person, and pretty quickly I was like, oh yeah, not the person they said they were on, the profile. Definitely like wasn't clicking with this guy. It was really awkward. Just very, very quickly I was like, this is not a good situation. Very much not interested. It happens, that's cool. I had several friends who were aware that I was on a date because, it's a big deal. And especially meeting a stranger off the internet, it's like you want your girls to know where you are. You have to have your getaway car. You have to have, your location sent to multiple people. It's a whole thing in girl world. And one of my good friends at the time was very aware and was like texting me, and I had a couple people who were like, send me a code word if he's weird, like send me a code emoji, all these things. And this guy had like taken a couple phone calls during the date, which, girls, if you're watching this, bad sign. That's just not appropriate. It's not kind unless it's a literal emergency. Like, he should not be on his phone, like talking to people from work or friends or whatever. And so I used that as an opportunity while he was on his phone to text a friend being like, this is not going well, I want to leave. And I thankfully had dinner plans with a friend after, so I kind of had an excuse to like leave the date at a certain point. But pretty quickly I was like, just kind of feeling things out. I was like, I think he's gonna try to put his arm around me. Like, I just don't want that. I don't want him to touch me. Oh man. And so I like texted the friend. I was like, I like need an excuse to leave. And she, oh, you guys, this is so bad. She faked an illness. Granted, her excuse was she wasn't feeling great that day in general, but she calls me. She didn't tell me she was gonna do this. She calls me and goes, I think I have pneumonia. I feel so bad. And I didn't say to the guy I was on a date with that my friend, I think she has pneumonia, but I was like, my friend doesn't feel well. And so she literally calls me and was like, Emily, I don't feel well. Can you come like check on me? You're gonna be a nurse soon. Like, can you come check on me? And I was like, oh man, okay. I mean, I didn't put her up to this. She just did this. Sweet friend watching, you know who you are. Thank you for saving me that day. And in the moment, I was just like, you know what? I'm creeped out on this date. It's very awkward. It's very weird. She isn't feeling well. And so I kind of just like made myself feel okay, being like, hey, my friend wants me to come check on her, Like, it was getting to a point in the date where it was probably time to leave anyways, but it did kind of help me leave. Oh, I feel so guilty saying this out loud, but we all do those things we're not proud of, and this is one of them. It was funny in the moment because I was like, LOL, she like faked an illness to get me out of a bad date. Probably not the best thing to do ethically, so there you are. Sorry to a guy I went on the first date with back in Nashville, who I ducked out of the date early because I was not feeling it. But then I proceeded to tell him that I was not feeling it later that night when he messaged me again. So there we go. Maybe that rectifies the situation. Probably doesn't. Anyways. Okay, I don't know if you guys have seen New Girl. It's one of my favorite shows, but there's that episode called Dice where Jess goes on a dating app and Schmidt is teaching her like all these excuses to get out of bad dates. And that situation with that guy in Nashville is like very much what I was relating to, because Jess in the show is always like, an important document has gone missing, I have to find it. Or like, they found your son, you know, or like the bees are back. I know this show very well. That is definitely where we got our inspiration from. No shame, but also some shame too. But the third dating fail, and the one that inspired this video because it was so bad, is the time I blurted out that I was saving sex for marriage. Here we go, my friends. So, in my third and most recent dating relationship about a year ago in North Carolina, I was dating this guy. It was a very short-lived relationship, but it was one of those that was like very serious very quickly. More on that later. We'll just get right to it. So we were at that point, yeah, we were official. We were boyfriend and girlfriend at that point. I mean, we hadn't been dating for very long. It was like several weeks or a month in. And we hadn't had the boundaries talk yet. You know, when you sit down and you're like, all right, what are we okay with physically? What are we not okay with physically? Both Christians, and I just kind of, I think we both assumed, or no, I assumed that he knew I was saving sex for marriage and that he probably was too. Don't assume these things. You need to have a conversation about it because you never know. And we were kissing, full-on kissing, and things were getting a little like heated. Nothing was happening, don't worry, still stuck to the boundaries, we're good. But I think I got like nervous because things were heating up. And I kid you not, I blurt out, I'm saving sex for marriage while we're kissing. And he goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, he's like, okay, like I wasn't trying to like push anything, like that's not what I was thinking. Like I think he starts defending himself because he was so nervous that I thought like he was trying to like get me to sleep with him or something. That's not what he was doing, that's not what I was doing, but we just hadn't had that talk yet, and I think it's really important to have that talk before you like are kissing someone. But it just kind of happened, like, you know, you have those moments where, you know, you start kissing and it just kind of happens, and I just blurted it out. I don't know if it was like a Freudian slip or, you know, just my subconscious was like, Emily, you need to talk to him about this. I didn't think it was gonna go anywhere. I didn't think he was gonna like push anything or try anything, thank God. But just because we hadn't had that conversation, I blurted it out and we proceeded to have like a 2 to 3 hour sex talk. Yep. That's really the story, but it's pretty bad in my opinion, just because that's just not the context that you want to be talking to someone about this, right? Like, you want to have it before anything physical happens, even if it's like your first kiss. Like, I think it's important to have that conversation of like, hey, like, I'm like saving sex for marriage, and like my boundary is at this point, and you know, we talk about this. But it was actually really like salient moment for me, because salient moment, is that the right word to choose? Profound moment, I don't know. Vocab words. It was a really important moment because turns out we were not on the same page about sex and boundaries. So please have this conversation before you kiss someone, because I thought because he was a Christian we would be on the exact same page about sex, because the Bible's really clear about sex. You know my whole spiel, go watch the Let's Talk About Sex series to get more details there. You cannot assume just because some guy is a Christian that he holds to the same sexual ethic that you do, because there is nuance and there are still a lot of Christians who think it's okay to have sex before marriage. I have thoughts there. You know what I believe. If you don't, go watch the series. I think the Bible is very, very clear about sexual integrity. But anyways, you need to have a conversation because not everyone's on the same page, and you can't assume that you guys believe the same things. So that was that. It led to a very serious conversation where I honestly wish I had broken up with him at that point because of that major difference in values. But alas, the more you learn. I look back and extend grace to myself because I didn't end it then and waited a couple more weeks before we ended it. So, anyways, moral of that story is do not tell someone you were saving sex for marriage while you were making out with them. Tell them before, not in the middle of kissing them. It's a little awkward. Okay, cool, awesome. Moral of all the stories. 1, to recap, don't get a dog when you have just been broken up with. It will not fix your problems. 2, do not lie to someone, ever. But do not have your friend feign an illness to get you out of a date. Just tell the guy that you need to leave, or that you're not interested, or that you're uncomfortable. Honesty is the best policy. Cool. 3rd thing, talk about boundaries before getting physical with anyone, even if it's just a little kiss. You're welcome. This is coming from your big sister on the internet who has made lots of mistakes and wants to keep you from making my same mistakes. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and comment so I can say hi and meet you and have a further discussion. Maybe you can comment your biggest dating failure. I'd love to hear it. I think it's funny. I love making fun of myself because I'm a little crazy sometimes. The dog one is perfect evidence of that. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time I post, probably next week.